People assume burglary is about desperation, someone too broke or angry to care about consequences. That's not how it was for me. I did it because I liked knowing I could step into places no one thought I belonged. It wasn't about what I took. It was about what it proved. I learned to pick locks when I was 19. The first door I opened was my own, after I lost my key. It felt like solving a puzzle. Clean, quiet. I never forgot that feeling. After that, I started carrying a small kit. A tension wrench, a rake, a hook, nothing fancy. Just enough to slip through the barrier other people believed was unbreakable. At first, I practiced on abandoned houses, places no one would miss. I'd go in late, 2, maybe 3 in the morning. I'd spend an hour or two inside, never taking anything. Just looking. Learning how a home arranged itself when no one was watching. Where people kept the things they cared about most. What they left out on the counters because they believed the locks were enough to keep me out. When I started choosing occupied houses, I was careful. I picked neighborhoods where the cars didn't move much, where lights stayed off after 10, where I could watch from across the street and map out the routines. I kept a notebook in my glove compartment, dates, times, patterns. If I saw a porch light switch on at an unusual hour, I'd move on. I wasn't in a hurry. I had all the time I needed. The first night I crossed the threshold of a house with people sleeping inside, my hands didn't shake. I remember thinking that was supposed to mean something, that I should feel afraid or guilty. But I didn't feel either. Just a kind of focus, sharper than anything I'd known. I went through the kitchen first. It's always the kitchen. That's where you find wallets, keys, envelopes with bank statements, evidence of how people live when they're not performing for the world. I never made noise if I could help it. I never turned on lights. I wore the same clothes every time. A black jacket, jeans, cheap sneakers I could throw away if I had to. No logos, nothing that would stand out on a camera if I missed one. I was never careless. That was the point. That, after a while, it became routine. I'd park on the side street, walk 3 or 4 houses over, slip in, move through the rooms in a pattern I'd practiced 100 times in my head. Most nights, I took small things. Enough to matter, but not enough to be noticed right away. A laptop, a watch, a stack of cash from a drawer. Things people would assume they'd misplaced. I didn't sell most of it. That's what people never understood. I kept the items in storage boxes with labels, dates, addresses, notes about how I'd gotten in and what I'd learned. Each box was like a chapter in a story only I knew. Proof that I'd been there. That I'd passed through their lives without a trace. The longest I ever stayed was 3 hours. The owners were away on vacation, and I'd been watching the place for weeks. I went through every closet, every drawer. I memorized the floor plan. I took photographs of the rooms just as I'd found them. When I locked the door behind me, I felt more satisfied than I ever had in my entire life. People ask if I ever thought about what it would do to them, to know someone had been inside their home, looking through their things. I thought about it, but not the way they want me to. I wondered how long it would take for them to realize the locks had failed, whether they'd ever feel safe again. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I wanted them to understand how fragile the idea of safety really is. I never considered myself a thief. I wasn't stealing as much as I was collecting. I wanted evidence of all the barriers I'd crossed. That was enough. If it had been about money, I would have been reckless. But I never was. I kept records. I planned everything. I knew when to stop. The last place I entered was different. I hadn't planned it for long, only a few days. That should have been the warning. Complacency is the most dangerous part of repetition. I thought I knew every variable. But when I stepped into that hallway, I saw something I hadn't expected. A motion sensor I hadn't noticed on the walkthrough. I knew I was done before I even closed the door. I was careful but not careful enough. The cameras caught my outline. The police were at my door 2 days later. They searched my storage unit. All those boxes, all those notes. The story I'd been writing was there for anyone to read. When they asked why I did it, I told them the truth. Because I could. Because it felt like proof that I wasn't just passing time like everyone else. They didn't understand. I don't expect you to either. You want regret. You want an apology. But all I can say is that for the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was capable of. And even now, part of me doesn't wish I'd stopped sooner.